Hi guys, so we take care of a lot of senior citizens in our practice, and probably the biggest complaint that people want help with in that demographic is their balance. And from a young perspective, that seems to be kind of a smaller issue compared to some of the other things that I know that we get benefit with, which is things like blood pressure, being on all these different medications, different pain issues. On a deep level, balance is always kind of at the top of the list. Like if they could only get their balance back. And we have really good success with that, and it's so important to talk about it because in discussing with so many seniors why that's important, it's because of autonomy. Being able to not have to rely on anybody else is a huge one, right? Because if you start to lose your balance, then now you're unable to, do things that you would normally do for yourself because you're afraid of falling. I've had people that say, "Oh, I was out in my garden and I fell," and it was several hours before their husband came out or their wife. I've heard this literally the same exact scenario with both a husband and a wife, different people entirely or different families entirely, and it's hours and hours before anyone came and saw. In fact, even my grandfather, before he passed away, he was out almost exact situation. He had fallen in his backyard, and it was about 7 hours. He was out there all day. He was so sunburned because he fell and he couldn't get back up. And that just made his world zip down to never wanting to leave the house, hardly even wanting to go into his backyard anymore. So he would venture out onto the patio, but he wouldn't even tinker nearly as much with all the lawn stuff that he would typically do. And that sucks. That's not the way that life is supposed to be lived, and it makes great sense why balance is on the top of the list. Because again, your world shrinks down if you have a fear of falling. And there's several different reasons why people can lose their balance. The vast majority is not necessarily due to circulation issues, which is blood. Most of the issues are actually from a disconnect on how your brain is getting messages from your ankle. So when you're just standing there and you're walking, or you're just standing still, your ankle and your feet are sending signals up to your brain and saying, "Hey, tighten up your calf so that you don't fall forward. Tighten up your shin muscles so you don't fall backwards." And we're constantly doing this teetering, but we don't realize it because our brain it's happening very rapidly, sending those signals up, and we're getting feedback on, you're falling forward, you're falling back, you're falling forward, you're falling back. And we were able to hold ourselves in a very steady, upright posture. And then same thing, even when we're dynamically walking, we're able to do the same thing, so we don't even think about it. And then if we have an obstacle, say we miscalculate that there's a small step, we're able to kind of catch ourselves, and so it doesn't even really register as much of a trip as it is like, there's something there. We can move our feet in a way that positions ourselves to successfully navigate that obstacle. When you start to lose that connection from your brain to your ankles, now you're getting slower, more inaccurate feedback. So now it's like it takes longer before you realize that you're falling forward and before your muscles are activated to tell you, start to contract, time to contract, we're falling forward, time to contract our calf muscles and our back muscles to pull us upright, and then vice versa if you're falling backwards. So there's a lot more of that swaying that starts to happen, and it's almost like if you guys have ever had a steering wheel that starts to get a little bit loose on you. A brand new steering wheel, you're going to be able to slightly turn the steering wheel, and all of a sudden, you're going to drive left. If your steering wheel starts to malfunction on you, you might have a little bit of wiggle room and give. And I've driven a Bronco that was awful, and it was terrifying to drive because it had this much give before it actually engaged and started turning. So if I'm trying to hold it to the left, hold it to the right, because you know how we're constantly making small corrections as we're driving just to drive in a straight line, and I'm over here doing this, and it's exhausting and it's terrifying because I'm swaying just to try to keep a straight line. It's just way more effort, and that's exactly what's happening with that poor information from the ankles to the brain that's giving you information. So 1, it's taxing. 2, it's dangerous. And 3, I don't know what 3 is, but it always seems to have a good things of three, you can fill in the third reason why it's good. You get your balance back, you get your autonomy back, you get your life back. And we are able to restore that connection through neurologically based chiropractic care. There's no popping, there's no twisting, there's no cracking. We actually use an instrument to adjust that uses your own muscles and your nerves to realign your bones, which takes pressure off of the nerves that are going through from your brain all the way down to your toes, right? It's called your spinal cord. So whenever you have any pressure, it messes everything up. It messes that signaling up. We correct that here in our office after we locate where that is. And we see people's balance significantly start to improve. I've seen people that they're coming in on walkers. I've seen people coming in on wheelchairs. I've seen people coming in with the 4-point canes, regular canes, and a lot of them have been able to either completely get off of whatever assisted crutch that they've had, or they've had to use it significantly less. It's almost there as a backup, just as a security measure. They don't really need it, but it's just there in case they do. And usually that's how it starts off with. But then it progresses to where it's a necessity, and we just kind of peel that back so it's actually going the opposite direction. When it's just amazing to see these people's lives transform in our office when they're actually able to start being able to go out to the grandkids' baseball games or soccer games and this and that, which before they were not able to do because they were confined to their house. They were afraid of tripping or falling, or it's just this huge ordeal of having to get the walker in the car and how far do we have to park and all these different logistics that are a real thing on a day in day out basis for people who are uncomfortable with their balance because they don't trust it. And even worse if they've fallen. Once you have balance issues and you fall once or twice, and you're hopefully fortunate enough that you didn't break something, you start to realize that, oh my gosh, this is starting to get out of my control, and it's scary. And I see a lot of people who come in and they've actually fallen and they've broken a bone, and it's like instantaneously their desire and their zest for life is just it's quenched, it's gone, and it is awful for me to see because especially my wife and I, Dr. Natalie and myself and Dr. Lee, we know that these people that there's hope and that there's help for them. And sometimes senior citizens are very stubborn. They're stuck in their ways, and they are determined that, hey, if my medical doctor says that I can do this or not do this, they listen to them and they give them the almighty authority to dictate the power of God over their lives. And it's sad if they don't consider chiropractic as an option because it is such a powerful tool to be able to get your body to connect right back up to itself. And we're not doing anything special here. We're literally using your own ability to heal yourself from the inside because you are alive and you're healing and your body is there to heal itself from the inside out. Drugs that you take, they mask symptoms. They're not actually helping you in the healing process. Anytime you've healed from anything, it's your body was doing it on its own, including restoring your balance and restoring that communication in your brain. There's other types of balance issues as well, and I don't want to get into every single case here, but chiropractic care is phenomenal for almost all of those issues because, again, we're realigning you to you, meaning your brain to your body and your body back to your brain by removing the interferences that are stopping that connection in the first place. So naturally your body starts to work the way that it was intended, and there's no drugs that are needed, there's no supplements, there's not even any exercises that we do in order for that connection to occur. Now, of course, exercise, the things that you put in your body are important, but when you start to get reconnected and that balance starts kicking in, you naturally start walking more. You start doing more things. So the exercise kind of takes care of itself. So if you or a family member or someone that you're taking care of is suffering from this, from balance issues, and they're losing their quality of life because of it, seriously, you got to get them an appointment, get them scheduled. If you're in Northwest Arkansas, schedule them with our office. We're Ignite Chiropractic. We'd be happy to take care of them. If you're somewhere else, send me a message. We'll see if we can put you in touch with somebody who can reconnect them to their body and their brain so that they can get their life and start functioning well again. So again, I'm Dr. Lee Horine, and I look forward to taking care of you.